So a lot of leaders struggle figuring out what they should delegate and what should stay on their list. When we talk about delegation, you may be wondering, well, what is mine to do that's so important that I should do it versus what should I delegate? I want to talk today about a concept from a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he talks about zones of genius. And this is one of my favorite ways to really think about that. In the book, he talks about a zone of genius, a zone of excellence, a zone of competence, and a zone of incompetence. So let's break that down a little bit. Your zone of genius are the things that only you can do at such an incredibly high level that, like, in your business or in your role, that has to be you, right? Because you can do something really special in a genius way. Okay. Your zone of excellence are the things that you can still do really well, but there's probably also somebody else who can do those really well. Zone of competence are those things that you can do and they'll get checked off, but they're just going to be competent. It's never going to be something that you're excellent at. I'll give you an example. I kept my own books in my business for a long time. I grew up helping my dad keep books. I'm very competent at bookkeeping. Like, when I turned them over, the bookkeeper wasn't like, oh my gosh, these are a gigantic mess, right? They're pretty good, but it's never going to be my zone of excellence or my zone of genius. And then that zone of incompetence are the things that are just truly not in your skill set. You should not ever be the one doing it. So when you're trying to figure out what to delegate, right, we start at the bottom, but ideally, we would like to work ourselves up to a point where we're delegating 3 out of 4 of those zones as much as possible, right? Zone of incompetence is pretty easy. You know you got to delegate those things, right? Zone of competence is a little harder, but often we can find somebody who could do it better than us, and so we're more willing to do it, right? That zone of excellence, honestly, is where a lot of leaders struggle the most. It is harder to find somebody who could do it at the same level that we can. We know that we do it well. So I'll give you an example. If you think about a copywriting business, let's say that you are the owner of that copywriting business and you are an excellent copywriter. When somebody else does something that's not quite as good, it is your tendency to go, I'll just start writing that copy again. I'll just do that, because you know you can do it at an excellent level. Right? Delegation gets harder in that zone of excellence than it does anywhere else. But when we do things in our zone of excellence, it takes up a lot of time and keeps us from having time to do things in our zone of genius, right? So when you are trying to figure out what do you want to delegate and what is yours to do, what I want you to encourage you to do is look at your to-do list, look at your projects, look at those things and go, okay, where do these things fall in here? Where is my greatest contribution? That's going to be your zone of genius, right? And how can I do more of that by delegating more of these other things? So I hope that helps you think about what you need to delegate. I would love to know, one of the things that, and I heard this on a podcast, but I cannot tell you who it was right now, but one of the things I've been working to do is just to look once a quarter and go, what's one more thing I can delegate? What's one more area of responsibility that I can delegate this quarter? What's the next thing you're going to delegate? What's the next thing that you continue to do, but is really probably not yours to do, and you should go ahead and delegate it? I'd love it if you tell me in the comments.